So a little bit about Exactware that I've worked for a number of years. We provide claim solutions. It's all about claims. It's about estimating solutions for property claims, working with insurers, loss adjusters, building contractors, and other claim specialists. This afternoon, I'd like to talk about just one particular trend, actually, that we're working through, and that's the move towards the digitization of claims and self-service, it's known, or customer engagement in that field. The agenda today, I was going to look at the background to claims, a little bit about history to put it into perspective, a bit about current practice and some of the things that we see as an organisation that are happening at the moment, and then talk a little bit about the motivation for where things are going, and then have a look at what's happening and some of the technology that's going to be there for the future. There's been some great speeches today, some great speakers. Michael earlier on talked a little bit about communication being really important, and that's a theme that will come out through my presentation in here. Pavel and my colleague Ted talked about technology and how technology can assist through claims, and that's another point I want to talk about here. And I'd like it to take it right back really to, I think it was Dominic at the beginning talked about his mother's house, and how this individual policyholders are being formed as the centre of the claim process, and how insurance companies now are looking at individual policyholders and trying to make it work for them. So I talk about policyholders. For that, we can talk about an individual policyholder, your home policyholder customers. You can also look at SMEs and other organisations that are buying their policies digitally and expecting to be serviced digitally. Oh, I've got the button here as well, haven't I? Right one?
Right.
Yeah. So just a bit about the history. Once upon a time, claims took a long time to settle, and things are moving on a little bit now. If you go back in time, 30 plus years ago, a policyholder had the opportunity to either go into their local office of their insurance company, maybe go and see their broker, maybe even phone up an insurance company and try and get help to get their claim settled. The key point about this, it took many weeks to get it settled. There'd be lots of paperwork to fill out and lots of administrative work for both the customer and the insurer. So things need to move on a little bit, and things certainly have. About 30 years ago... Would
you like to move the slide?
No, I'll keep this in my hand as well. Thank you. So with the help of new technologies, things started to speed up. With the internet revolution, with the technology bringing around the PC desktop revolution, things could move a bit further forward. Field adjusters are in the field. They're trying to help settle claims and trying to move things forward. So about 30 years ago, the founder of Exactware was a builder in Utah. And he was working with lots of adjusters and with customers, trying to help them settle their claims. One of the issues he found was that he had absolutely appalling handwriting. And he was very lucky to be there at the beginning of the PC revolution. He had a desktop PC, which I think was the size of his desk, and a spare bedroom. He started just trying to translate what he wanted to do as a builder and put it into a digital format. And really in the US, that was the beginning of digital estimating and putting things in a way that could be understood by many. The process, that was 30 years ago, the process has moved on significantly from then. It's no longer a 52K dial-up modem. You can actually send things digitally very quickly, electronically. And on the back of that electronic information, you get the benefit of the analytics that come through that. Because you've got something that's digital, you can then use the analytics to help you perform better as an adjuster or an insurer. The tools bring speed, they bring efficiency, and they bring consistency. But it still took quite some time to settle claims, and we knew we could make things a little bit faster. So one of the trends we've found that's definitely happening with a lot of insurers is they're trying to bring things in-house. They no longer want to spend the time and the effort with people in the field. They actually want to bring things and control and own that customer themselves. So with the mobile estimating platforms that are now available, and Exactware is one of them, and the software, it makes it even easier for insurers to be able to do this. And Exactware clients have found through their experience that where something may have taken 30 or 40 days to settle, using the full supply chain through building contractors and mitigation companies and people in the field, they can now settle something and offer a settlement and get it settled in 1.5 days at the desk. That's an incredible advantage. There's no supply chain fees, so there's no cost of using adjusters, there's no cost of using contractors, and they've got reduced admin time for themselves. So if they can settle something in 1.5 days, those 30 days where they had to use their own resources to make phone calls and deal with a claim are gone, and clearly it reduces the average claims cost. If you can settle something earlier, the mitigation is taken out of your hands and it reduces that average claims cost. So there's a huge incentive for insurers to keep and bring more and more in-house so they could settle it quickly and less expensively. So the future. Let's talk about what motivations there are behind the insurance companies looking for new ways and using the digitization and technology to move things forward. The expression that's being used in the UK, I'm not sure about across the rest of Europe, is self-service. It's a pretty horrible expression, but it does what it says on the tin. It's policyholders and customers helping themselves to settle their own claims. And there's a couple of real strong motivators for making this work and making this work properly. We talked a little bit earlier on about declining investment income. Our sister company, Insurance Services Office, tells us that investment yield for the insurance industry for the first 9 months of 2015 was just 3.1%. That's significantly below the 5.1% average for investment yield from 1960 to 2014. If you take that into account and put alongside it the soft market where it's uber competitive to write insurance, then there's a need for the whole of the insurance team, including the claims department, to make it profitable for the organisation. Also, customer retention. A 2015 JD Power survey showed that only 3% of policyholders who were delighted, that's on the NPS score, that's your highest possible accolade, only 3% of those would decide to move. If you went and looked at the ones that were pleased, 7% of them, only 7%, but still 7% of them would decide they might move their policy somewhere else. By comparison, 23%, so a full quarter of your customers, who were lukewarm after a claim, so you gave them what they expected, they would decide to move on. So a quarter of people might get up and go and look for another policy. And a whopping 42% of policyholders who are dissatisfied would still get up and move. So there's a good chance that your customer is going to get up and go away from you anyway. So the claims department is very important in getting it right and giving the customers what they want. We heard a little bit earlier on about millennials as well. And the majority of customers, insurance customers, are now going to be millennials. And if they want anything, it's fast, it's easy, and it's convenient. That's what they're looking for. They want to be self-reliant. So the generation, and it's we all use smartphones. We've all got a smartphone. We all want things to be done quickly. The generation has been raised in front of screens. They want to be able to go to the internet. They want to be able to Google it, and they want to be able to get the answer now, not tomorrow, not after a phone call. My 17-year-old son, for some reason, won't use the phone. I thought that was something that I needed to help him with, but actually, he gets stuff done without using the phone. He gets it done on his mobile, and he gets it done on his laptop. That's just the way it happens these days. So the way to keep them happy is by working with the way they work. Most people these days, if you look at the normal direct insurance or through most personal lines insurance and SME insurance, will buy their insurance online. They don't want to speak to many other people. Logically, that's the way they want to settle those claims too. So a little bit about the future then and some of the technology. There is so much out there. We heard a little bit about IoT and the whole Internet of Things. We talked about drones. There is a vast array of opportunity for settling claims and for satisfying customers. So I've picked out just a few that we can talk about. And these are I've picked out these because these are ones I've either been involved in or ones that I can talk about. The key point of this is that it's putting the customer at the center of what the insurers are doing. So it's creating a journey around the customer that they can pick and mix. They can choose from a menu of different solutions that they can then satisfy their need or serve their customer themselves. And then the insurance company can intervene if they feel it's necessary or if the customer looks like they really need to help. And I think it was Pavel again that talked about the frictional cost of insurance. There's two sides to the frictional cost. One is it costs an insurer a lot to run a claims operation, and it also friction through the claims operation dissatisfies the customer hugely. If you can take out that friction and make things flow freely, then you've got an opportunity to have a profitable claims department. So let's look at a couple of these points. The first one I'll talk about is just about ENOL. It's or FNOL as we call it, but electronic notification of loss. It's fairly simple. It's fairly straightforward. You can go through a claim. Now, one of the interesting things we found with customers about this is some customers need the comfort of talking to someone on the phone. Maybe they're not the people that will fill out these forms, but you can give the customers 24/7 convenience. A lot of insurers will have a claims office that's open, say, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. After that, it goes to a call center, and they take a message, and then they pick it up the next morning. Through this, you give true 24/7 convenience. The other thing we've experienced with these type of forms is during a surge, the incidence of people using it will increase exponentially. So people want a way of registering their claim when something's happened, and insurance companies traditionally haven't been able to fulfill that through their own call centers. It's quite simple, just filling out some forms. You can do that. You can add, the customer can can upload photographs and other documentation, and the insurer can then use that to settle the claim. The next point, once you've got them to fill out some details, is online self-assessment, so damage assessment. So you can get your customer, without sending anyone out to the peril address, to their home or to their office, to actually give you some information about what's happening on site. And these need to be quite clever forms. You need to direct the person through what the information they're giving you. You need to set it up by policy type, the loss type, and the area of damage. But you can quite easily do that and then put business rules in place to define the conditional path so that they can get to a conclusion. And with some clever algorithms, you can create automatic settlement functions. So you can actually get the customer to give you the information you need to settle the claim and then offer them a settlement. At any point during this, you can give the customer the opportunity to bail out, or you as an organization can bail out and make further contact if you think it's important, if you recognize there might be some fraud or something along those lines. These types of forms and this type of information is being used because you've got the digital way of estimating and you've got the pricing and the information that sits behind that in order to allow it to happen for a customer to scope their own claim. And the customers are the experts in their own business. They're the experts in their own home, and you can trust them to give you some information. I'll talk a little bit later on about getting some backup data in order to make sure that your trust is fulfilled. Having a customer portal is a fairly standard thing to do. Most insurers, when they're trying to engage with customers more and more, insurers find it very difficult on an annual business cycle to engage with their customers. It's not a purchase that people want to. It's not a purchase that people want to make. It's actually something they feel as though they have to, and once they've made it, they don't really want to ever contact their insurer again. Insurer really wants to talk to that customer. And one of the ways they're doing that is through the claims process and making sure that happens. And a customer portal is a way of letting those millennials talk to you in the way they want to talk to you. Through this, you can pick up data about your customers' requirements, and you can also get in touch with them and maybe flag up some other offers and some other thoughts that you might want to put in front of them. Customers can provide up-to-date information, they can add information. And the other benefit of a customer portal, if you do have a supply chain that you're going to have to involve, say you do have to send a loss adjuster or you are sending someone out as a building contractor to the claim, then they can have access to this information as well. And that means that the same activities aren't being done over and over again. Adjuster's not going out and getting photographs. The builder contractor's not going out and getting photographs. Everyone's got the same information. And with the use of some of the bots that are being developed through some of the fintech companies, the personalization through a customer portal can be fantastic, and it can be almost human. There are times when, as an insurance company, you will need a bit more information. You will want to get involved, but still insurance companies don't want to send out additional businesses. And so what we can use for these is, and what we're finding is really useful in when we're deploying some technology, is around video, the use of live streaming of video. I've got as it's live streaming of video we're talking about, we have one here, and hopefully someone will press a button for me.
Sometimes, when adjusting losses over the phone, you might not be seeing the whole picture. The view you see can be much different when policyholders show you the damage through video, instead of a photo or simply hearing about it. Claim Experience Video Collaboration gives you the information you need to determine when an on-site visit is needed. And it doesn't stop with video. You and the policyholder can exchange documents, photos, and messages. And that policyholder interaction leads to higher customer satisfaction. With the big picture view from Claim Experience Video Collaboration, you can make more informed decisions about settling over the phone or visiting the site. Check out Video Collaboration today.
I apologise, that sounds a bit like an advert, but I think you get the picture from the video there of what you can see. So there's a number of issues in the industry, and one of them is a dwindling talent pool, particularly if you think about loss adjusters and people going on site. In this scenario, you've got someone on site that can take a video. In that scenario, it was the customer. They know the home, they know where the damage is, and you can have experts sat in offices, and they can be far more efficient and far more productive. And the customer's fully engaged, and no one's had to go to site. They haven't had to make appointments. They haven't had to get more involved. I'm not sure you could offer a settlement immediately on that one. That's a fairly sizable hole in front of that garage, but it gives you a picture of how video can help. And if you move that forward, and we talked a little bit about the drones and how they could help, the video clearly can come back and be live streamed from drones if you can get permission to fly it within sight of the pilot. So at some point, you may want to get the customer involved, you may want to send someone out there, you may want them to use a loss adjuster. So the next point in terms of moving on is just giving them those services and let them use it themselves. One of the big friction points is the movement between an insurer handling a claim and taking their FNOL to it going out into their supply chain. So whether it goes to an independent adjuster outside their organisation, their own staff adjuster, or whether it'll go to a building contractor or a mitigation company somewhere else to do the fire and flood restoration. One of the problems is that stations all work with standard service levels. So they're told they must phone up the customer within 2 hours of being instructed. They're told they must be on site within 48 hours. That's fantastic. It sounds like great customer service, but it's got nothing to do with the customer's convenience. So what we're finding now is the desire to actually take that scheduling out of the hands of the claim handler or the supply chain and put it into the hands of the customer and provide them with the opportunity to set their appointment at a time that's convenient for them. And that just presents some fabulous opportunities for the insurer to take out a lot of friction, but it also gives the customer a view of all the resources that are there. And the insurer is definitely not over-promising because the appointments are shown and available. So that's some of the technologies going through. Some of the things that I noticed our insurers are doing as well, and we've talked about it now today, are around about the customer. So this is, we talked about making it the customer and making it claim ready. So one of the things that an insurance company has to do is make sure they've done the due diligence. If you're going to settle things automatically, you need to know that you've got the data to do that. So the other thing we're finding is that integration with other parties will assist an insurance company use some of that data from that big data world effectively to take action. So an example there is Rightmove. Rightmove is the online estate agency in the UK. They've got records, 96% coverage for the 26 million residential properties on pieces of different data. Over 50% of them have got floor plans. So if I'm sat at a desk in an insurance company, automatically I can pull down the floor plan. So when I'm talking to the customer, I can see that they're telling me about the right dimensions that are there, and I satisfy my need of diligence there and then on the phone, and I can confidently settle that. So that sort of integration is vital in order to make those actionable decisions, either through the algorithms that your systems will use or with your people on the phone. We talked about advocacy and how that may work. According to Mintel, about 70%, that's a huge number, of consumers look to online reviews before making a purchase. So 70% of customers will actually go out there and trust a stranger to tell them whether they should purchase your product. When I first read that, I thought that was quite strange, but I know that every time I'm a cyclist, every time I look on Chain Reaction to buy a new bit of cycle kit, I'll always read the reviews of what other people have said. I don't know these people, but I trust them because they're other cyclists. In insurance, we have all sorts of, in the UK, there's de facto, which gives us a rating, but I would rather go to someone that's not inside the environment of insurance and find out what they felt about it. And there's insurers in the UK now that are actually, and possibly around the world, that are actually using the customer and their viewpoint over and above an NPS score or something else to look at their customer satisfaction. And you can build this in, and we can publicize how good insurance can be. It does mean the policies have to cover what we're saying they are, and it does mean we have to pay out on claims. So just to wrap up there's a number of different options. These are just a few. There are far, far, far more options out there for the digitization of the claims world and to move things forward. In terms of what we've talked about, is just picked out a few from self-reporting, customers that might want to do that after their night shift is finished to be able to do that. We've talked about how they can do their own damage assessment and use simple online tools in order to give insurers the information. How they might, if an insurance company needs to get eyes on site, you might use a video, live streaming, and work through that. And we've talked about integrating other services and solutions, customers giving you their review and giving you the thumbs up once you've done it really well. The conclusions of that are two and fairly simple. Firstly, you can provide a low-cost operational model that makes it straightforward and simple, and it provides customer convenience so that customers are satisfied with what you're providing them as a service.